Hi, this is Sean with Tri-State Waterworks. Continuing on in a little series about controllers. Today we're going to talk about some of the programming to make your lawn green and not waste too much water, and what we need to do with the different seasons of the year. All right, so what are some of these features? One is really handy. It's called the seasonal adjust. So on the 100 clock, it's up here and these two little buttons. So seasonal adjust is it takes all of your program times and increases it by a percentage. So if I press, let's just take a look at zone 1 we got for 10 minutes. If we take the seasonal adjust and we increase that to a percentage, and each one of those bars is like 10%, so I just increased it by 30%, I believe. And we go back and take a look at that runtime, it went up to 13 minutes. So what's neat is I can go in, instead of having, if I got 14 zones, instead of having to go in there and change the time on 14 zones, I can just do a seasonal adjust and increase or decrease it by a percentage. So I could do the same thing in the other direction. If it was a real wet time of the year, I could take my 10 minutes and decrease it to 5 minutes by taking my percentage from 100% to 50%. So the seasonal adjust is a big time saver. Instead of having to go in, if you have 13 zones, having to change the time on 13 different stations, for one, that could allow for a lot of errors or problems to crop up. But just a big time saver. I can go in quickly, adjust all of my run times by a percentage. Most clocks will allow you to go from what we call 100%, whatever you got a program at, up to 200%, which would double your run times, or back it down to 10%, which would only be 1/10 of the programming time you have set up for it. You should make these adjustments pretty much on a monthly basis, and the way you would do this is that in the springtime, like April and May, when you're getting a fair amount of rain, you might only want to run about 50% of the capacity that you normally have it set for. Come June, you might run it at 100%, and then when it starts getting hot and dry, like in July and August, you might take it up to 130 or 150% to make sure you're getting enough water for your plants. Look at your landscaping and your turf as separate areas. Landscaping typically needs a little less water because the plants, when they're established anyway, when you have plants that have been in the ground for 2 or 3 years, they have a bigger root system. They can go longer between waterings. So for the landscaping, usually once a week is adequate. In the hot heat of the summer, you might take that to 2 times a week. For the turf, on the other hand, it will tend to dry out quicker because your root depth is much shallower. So in the spring, 2 times a week is plenty. When it starts getting a little bit warmer, you might go to 3 times a week. And if it gets really hot and dry, it may take 4 times a week. But if you can get your water or get your lawn looking green with only 3 times a week, that's what we recommend. Don't water every day. If you water every day, spoon feeding it water, it just develops a really shallow root system and unhealthy turf. It's not bad for your turf to dry out between waterings. If you need any help with that, please give us a call. We'll be more than glad to advise you on how to program and run your sprinkler system.